All right, so now we're going to take a look at driving traffic with paid advertising, more specifically with Facebook advertising. So I should preface everything by saying that what you're about to watch is an update to Music Marketing Manifesto 3.0. This is I'm recording this on I can't see the calendar here because I have the slide pulled up, but I believe it's June 17th, 2015, and things have actually changed a good deal over at Facebook, at least in regards to their ad platform, since the original release of MMM 3.0. There have been some changes to the ad structure and more specifically the way things just sort of look and feel. And believe it or not, this is not the first time that I've attempted to update this module. I've recorded all the lessons again in the past, only to have them completely change things again before I even got them up, causing me to scrap the lesson. And I've been holding tight for a little while, anticipating yet another change that hasn't come. So I think we're safe, hopefully, to update this module. Just a warning to everyone, depending on when you are watching this, you may see things that look different in your dashboard as compared to what I am seeing. And that, again, is because Facebook, as is part of the course with really any platform online, is constantly changing. They're always updating the way their platform sort of works and feels and looks. But for the most part, the course structure typically stays the same, and therefore anyone in my shoes assumes that you can kind of navigate your way around as long as that core structure has changed. But as mentioned, there have been some big changes. There have been some changes to sort of best practices and, again, more specifically ad structure. So it was time we updated it. That's what you're about to watch. Obviously, there are going to be old members that have been around for some time as well as new members here. And I'm going to do my best to speak to both of you. So let's jump right in. And first, let's just talk about paid advertising in general. So we've already covered driving traffic for free. And, you know, it's kind of funny, again, updating this more than a year and a half after the original release of this course. Even my attitude has changed when it comes to free driving traffic for free. Now, the methods that I recommend really haven't changed all that much. It's just gotten even tougher and harder. And I just am really a big fan of paid advertising. Since the release of MMM 3.0, there has not been a single day that I haven't had an ad running. I absolutely am in love with Facebook ads. They just make life easy. You can get more or less all the traffic that you want with with the press of a few buttons. It's very easy to set up. It's not like some other platforms like Google AdWords, in my opinion, that are complicated and convoluted, and they have all these very strict terms and conditions, and you get banned if you make simple mistakes. And Facebook's simple. They have decent support, and within a couple of minutes, it'll take you far less time to set up an ad and get it going than it will to watch these lessons. That's how easy it actually is. So I'm absolutely in love with it. Free traffic is still a viable option. The methods I laid out for you in the previous module are yours for the implementation. I really think, as I've said before, that paid advertising needs to be part of every musician's end game, because in an ideal world, you're focused on music. And once you get this funnel up and running, and I realize it might take a week or two of concentration and testing and all of these different things, but once it is up and running, it's a lot nicer if you can just log in for the day, check your traffic stats, check your ad stats, and then go about your business. And when you do have a successful campaign running, it just, it takes 30 seconds a day, a minute a day, and every once in a while you need to refresh your ads and do a little bit of maintenance, but it's just so simple. So I'm absolutely in love with Facebook advertising. The cons, it's probably somewhat obvious, but with any kind of paid advertising, there is a risk. You may lose money. It is not always easy to dial your ads in to the point where you are making more money per subscriber than you are paying to acquire them. Targeting, as we'll talk about, is a big part of this. The ad copy itself is a big part of this. Just having a brand and a product that at least your target audience is going to be interested in, is a big responsibility. And so there are a lot of variables, and not everyone knocks this out of the park with a first swing, by no means. In fact, it'd be far rarer to have a successful ad campaign first time out than it would be to fail. This is not simple. If it was, everyone would be doing it. However, again, it really does need to be part of the end game, and your success is really going to be based on your subscriber value. So the amount of money that you are able to generate out of each subscriber. If you're selling a $4 EP to your list, it's going to be nearly impossible. I'd go as far as to say perhaps it will be impossible to generate a profit with paid ads. However, if you've got an upsell on that, let's say a $30 upsell, then perhaps you can break even or hopefully turn a profit. If you are promoting shows, maybe a membership site, then it becomes infinitely easier to generate a profit. And even if you just break even with those ads, you need to remember that you now own this lead for life, and you can market all of your future albums, merch ideas, concerts. The sky's the limit. You could even open your list up to other artists. You could find other artists perhaps that you have relationships with that are similar to you, that you perhaps tour with, and work out deals where you promote their albums for half of the profits. The sky's really the limit. When you have a big list, anything is possible. And you can generate a lot of money. I mean, potentially, it's going to take a big list, maybe 50,000, maybe 100,000, but you have the potential to generate millions of dollars when you start getting into that upper stratosphere there of list size. And, we're not all starting there, and it's going to take most of us, all of us, some time to build a list of that size, but anything is really possible. Just look at some of the Kickstarter campaigns that have been out there, where artists have been able to generate, 6, even 7 figures by turning to what in most cases has been a large mailing list. So that's what we're going to focus on here, Facebook advertising. I'm going to show you how to do it. I've got a campaign, a successful campaign that I've actually already run, and I'm going to go through the process of, I'm sort of going to go back in time and show you how I set up that campaign, and then we're going to go over some of the stats and talk about everything and hopefully learn a bit, and hopefully I'll instill the confidence in you to go about running your first ad campaign on your own. So let's jump right in here and talk about some things. First, ad structure. Now, this is something that has changed since the previous module, and this is something that is important to understand. Within Facebook, you have a 3-tier campaign structure or ad structure, and at the top, we have our campaign. This is your project. This is, if I was setting up an ad for myself, it would be, John Ojaka leads. So this is typically, again, the project and the purpose behind that project. So if we're trying to generate leads, I'd create a campaign. If I was trying to promote a post, I would create a promoted post campaign. If I was trying to send traffic to a sales page, it would be a sales campaign. So I organize campaigns, again, by project and by objective. Within that campaign, and this is the new element, we have ad sets, and it's actually not that new yet any longer. It's been around for about a year now, but we have ad sets. So the reason they introduced ad sets is because originally we just had campaigns and ads, but what would happen is all of your ads would compete against one another, and Facebook would favor one of those ads over the other ad, because that's how their algorithm works, and all of your ads would dry up except for one. So in other words, you might be going, let's say it was John Ojaka leads, and I was going after Bob Dylan fans. I'd have one ad going after Bob Dylan fans, maybe another ad going after, Neil Young fans, and another ad going after Tom Waits fans. Because they're all in the same campaign, they'd all essentially compete against one another. And let's say the Bob Dylan ad did the best. It performed the best. It got the most clicks. They would favor this and start slowing down, if not shutting off the traffic to ad number 2 and ad number 3. And that, but that might be a mistake, because just because I was getting maybe cheaper subscribers here, maybe I'm paying 70 cents, but maybe I'm paying $1.10 for these, doesn't mean I don't want those subscribers. And so it caused a real problem for a lot of people. So they added the ad set, and what the ad set is it's effectively, at least the way I use it, I use an ad set, I separate ad sets out by targeting, basically. You can also, and Facebook would probably advise you to do this, separate ad sets out by the targeting variables. So in other words, if you were targeting the US and Canada, they'd say that's one market, create an ad set for that market, and then create an ad set for the United Kingdom, and then create an ad set for Australia and New Zealand, and basically break it up by markets. I used to do that. I'm not doing that so much anymore. This will all make sense more when I actually go into the dashboard there and show you how to set it up. But in a nutshell, any variables that you do not want to compete against one another, you should create a unique ad set for. And then within those ad sets, we have our ads. So here, hypothetically, we have ads 1, ad 2, ad 3, and they will compete against one another. And this is where you test out the different elements. So I might try the same ad copy on all three of these, but image 1, image 2, image 3, or whatever the element was that I wanted to test. And Facebook's algorithm will take care of that split testing for me. They'll determine which one is performing best, and they will favor it, and in time, cut off all the traffic to the underperforming ads and send all of the traffic to that best performing ad. So that's how you need to think of all these different ad levels, this ad structure or campaign structure. Again, just to recap, we've got our campaign, then we've got our ad sets, and this is where we essentially control targeting, separate out targeting that we do not want to compete against our other ads, and then within each ad set, we typically have multiple variations of the same ad so that we can test out elements and see which one performs best, give ourselves a better chance at getting a lower price because we've given Facebook different variables to work with. So again, this will all make more sense once we get in there and start creating those ads, but you need to be aware of that fundamental structure. So the key elements, let's talk about the key elements of Facebook advertising. And again, this is just some quick overview to talk about a few things so that you have some information as you look over my shoulder and as we create an ad. First, there's targeting. Targeting is huge. If you if you don't target the right audience, your ads won't perform well, and you will pay too much for subscribers. You may not even get any subscribers. I mean, targeting is huge, and this is the number one problem area when people write in saying, "Hey, I've been doing this, and subscribers are costing me $4 a piece or something way too high." Or maybe they're not getting any clicks, or whatever the issue is. Usually the problem is targeting, and one of the big mistakes I see people do is they in one ad set they'll target Bob Dylan fans, Neil Young fans, and folk music fans, or something along those lines. We want to create an ad set for just one target audience. Each ad set, one target audience. The only exception to that, in my opinion, is when something is almost identical. So alt country and alternative country. If you want to go ahead and group those together, you can. Other times we see potential target audiences that are very small. They may only have, say, 1,000 people in that audience, which is considered very small. Anything maybe under 20,000, 30,000 is pretty small. And you may want to just put a Hail Mary campaign together where you take all of those smaller campaigns and group them together because they're just too small to bother with managing an entire campaign around one interest, or an entire ad set around just one interest that only has 700 people in it. But for the most part, one target audience per ad set. And the other thing here is that you really want to niche down. You do not want to target a broad audience. I see this a lot where people will target progressive rock or alternative rock. This is way too broad. That encapsulates an enormous variety of interests and different types of people. You want to be distilling your target audience into one ideal customer. You want to have a good sense of their age. You want to have a good sense of their sex. You want to have a good sense of where they live. You want to have a good sense of the CDs in their collection, or the MP3s on their iPhones. But you really do not want to target broad. So even something like Bob Dylan may be too broad, because when you get into some large artists that have really penetrated pop culture, you have an enormous amount of people discussing them for an enormous amount of reasons. Using someone like Bob Dylan as an example, you often, because the way interest targeting works is that you type in Bob Dylan, and then Facebook looks for people who either like Bob Dylan or are discussing Bob Dylan in some way. So somebody might be making a joke about Bob Dylan or saying, hey, that guy looks like Bob Dylan, and suddenly your ads are being served to that person, but they're not necessarily a Bob Dylan fan. You'll do much better to search for keywords like Bob Dylan albums or something like that, or Bob Dylan discography, or better yet, a more obscure artist that also represents the interests of that singer-songwriter audience, but has less noise surrounding it. So someone like Tom Waits, I mean, even he is a little large, but someone like Tom Waits, there. People who are not Tom Waits fans are generally not discussing Tom Waits, and so you'll tend, and there's no absolute rules here, but you'll tend to do better when targeting a very specific artist or genre. Genres can be too broad, or they can, be really perfect targeting options. It just really depends on what you're talking about. Rock music, typically going to do very, very badly. That's half the country, half the world. But something like Celtic folk music, you might do okay there, because that is very, very specific. So really drill down that target audience to a very, very specific group. Broad is bad, specific and niched out is good. Image. Probably no other element of your ad is going to be more responsible for the click-through rate, and therefore the cost that you end up paying, because as we'll talk about, the cost you pay is very linked to how high your click-through rate is, and that image is everything. Copy has an impact, but the image is far, far more important. So you really want to find a good image. Try to stay away from stock images or anything that looks like stock images. Even, you may have spent $10,000 on that fancy photo shoot. Those may not be the best photos to use. You can try them, and you should try them, because sometimes they work. But there is something called stock image blindness, and when things look a little too slick, people tend to overlook them because they're not on Facebook to click on ads. They're on Facebook to engage with real people. So authentic, real faces tend to do better than, let's say, for example, in the campaign, I'm going to show you the album cover is a horse, and I tested that image against the artist's face, and the horse was the worst performing ad as compared to the three other ads which had the artist's face in them. And sort of the bigger and more focused that profile was, the more focused that photo was on the artist's face, the better it typically did. And funny enough, smiling faces tend to do very well. Also, if you were to split test yourself with a straight looking serious and cool kind of expression versus just a happy snapshot, typically that happy snapshot would do a lot better. So copy, and of course when we say copy, we're talking about the text in your ad. You want to present a strong call to action, and basically what your ad is doing is your ad is targeting a very specific audience and making a bold claim or promise to that audience. The job of your squeeze page is to deliver on that claim. So as long as those three things are consistent, you are targeting a specific audience, you're creating an ad with copy or a message and call to action that speaks directly to that audience's pre-existing passions and interests, and then delivering upon that with your squeeze page. In other words, don't just try to get a whole bunch of clicks with some picture of a girl's boobs and some clever copy, which you'd be surprised how many people do, only to send them to a page that has nothing to do with that. That will not help you. You want to have that that consistent through line there from the that starts with targeting, leads to making a very specific claim or promise to that audience, and then deliver on that with the squeeze page. And as long as those three things are consistent and tightly tied together, your ads will typically do well. But in that copy, try to focus on making a bold claim or promise, present a call to action. And again, what you really want to do here is tap into those pre-existing interests or desires of your target audience and deliver an experience. No one needs another download. Sure, you're offering a download and you can tell them that, but you need to have you need to find a hook beyond just, hey, I've got a download for you. You're delivering an experience. If your music has sleazy heavy metal guitar riffs, promise to deliver on that with the music. Miss the sleazy heavy metal guitar riffs of Guns N' Roses or whatever the case may be. And I'm completely paraphrasing someone from the Insider Circle's ad copy that was successful. But that kind of a copy tends to do a lot better than just, hey, get a free download from some artist you're just hearing about for the first time. And again, we'll go over this more as we create our ad. Then tracking, tracking is also really important. You want to make sure you have conversion tracking pixel in place on your site, and you also want to really just be paying attention to those metrics. How much is it costing you to acquire a subscriber, and how much have you been able to generate with your funnel over the last 30 days per subscriber? So as long as that number, the subscriber value is bigger than the subscriber acquisition cost, then you're going to be fine. And that really is as simple as it is. But you got to pay attention to those metrics. And another thing, which we'll talk about in a moment as well, is that Facebook tracking is not perfect. There are going to be conversions that they miss. And so I rely on Aweber's. I use Facebook's conversion tracking as sort of a guide, and I get a sense of what I expect to see each and every day within their stats. Usually I see around 10%, maybe 10 to 20% of the conversions do not get counted. And part of that is because, again, conversion tracking is not perfect. That pixel does not always get recorded as it should, depending on what device somebody is visiting your site with. But another reason is that with every ad, it generates some organic traffic. So your ad is essentially a post. It appears in the newsfeed and people will share it. And I see, and it varies, but around 10% of the engagement with that ad is organic. It's just somebody sharing it with a friend who shares it with a friend. And I get about 10% of my traffic coming from the ad, but I don't pay for it. So you're going to see a bunch of subscribers that you don't pay for as well. So you need to really monitor those Aweber stats, even more so than the Facebook conversion stats. But you do want to, of course, have those in place. So what determines price? This is the big concern, and understandably, really the big question that everyone has going into this. How much is this going to cost? And some people are getting 5-cent clicks, and some people are getting 95-cent clicks. So why? What determines price? Well, in a nutshell, the higher the click-through rate, the lower the price. So why is it this way? Why does it work this way? Well, Facebook basically want two things. They want to have ads that are not annoying their users, that are still, that are helping contribute to the Facebook platform being a positive experience for its users, but they also want to make as much money as possible. And if you're bidding 50 cents, and I'm bidding $1, but you are getting, let's say, a 2.5% click-through rate, and I'm getting a 1% click-through rate, then for every 1,000 impressions that your ad receives and that my ad receives, Facebook is going to make $1.50 off of you, and only only $1 off of me. And that's in a scenario where you're bidding half the price that I am. I'm bidding 100% more than you, and yet you are getting 3 clicks for every one of mine for the same amount of money. And so obviously Facebook in that scenario is going to serve up your ad over mine because, one, users seem to like it more, and two, they're making more money off of you than they are of me. So that's how the algorithm works in a nutshell. So if you want to get those 5-cent clicks that you maybe hear people talking about and that are really possible, you need to get a really high click-through rate on that ad. One thing to be aware of is that there are different types of ads. There are newsfeed ads and right column ads. We've all seen them. The newsfeed ads appear in our feeds, and the right column ads appear there on the right side. The newsfeed ads appear as posts, so you can comment on them, share them, engage with them. The right column ads are pretty straightforward, and you just click on them. You'll have the option, as you'll see, of creating ads that garnish all of those placements, or just limiting them to one or several of those different placement types. So you have a lot of options, and I'm going to do my best to simplify this for you, but you need to keep that in mind. The higher the click-through rate, the lower the price. And what is a good click-through rate? In my opinion, for a newsfeed ad, you want to see a click-through rate that's over 3%. I'd say 3 to maybe 4% is average, 5 and 6% is very achievable. I see it a lot, but it's also very good. That typically is when you're getting some pretty cheap clicks. Anything over that is pretty exceptional. I've seen as high as 15%, believe it or not, in a newsfeed ad. That's typically when I'm retargeting existing fans and things like that. But I have regularly seen 15% or more with a newsfeed ad. Right column ads, by contrast, get a much, much lower click-through rate. You will see something like, maybe 0.1 or 0.2 would be good. Anything above that is pretty good. So again, from 3 or 4% to 0.1 or 0.2. So infinitely, huge difference there. And as you can imagine, as a result, you pay a lot more for those right column clicks than you do the newsfeed clicks. However, there's a lot more just kind of curiosity clicking. There are people that are just engaging with your ads in the newsfeed because they don't always realize that it's a sponsored post. And depending on your bidding structure, which we'll talk about more in a bit, you may be paying for those just engagements, and they're not always clicks to your website. So sometimes when people are having trouble with an ad, I recommend they simplify things and just use right column, although I have been doing less of that lately because I've just been having a lot of luck targeting all of the different placement options that are available. So again, all of this will make more sense as we go into it, but I need you to have some of this fundamental information so that when we do create our ad, you know what you're looking at. So, different types of campaigns. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to drive cold traffic to build your list. That is what is relevant to this course material. But there are actually a lot of different ways that you can use Facebook advertising. We are not going to cover them all in this lesson. Again, your goal here to implement MMM is to build up that list. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. However, I did want to touch on these different types of campaigns because you may want to experiment with them on your own. And if you're interested in joining me in my mastermind group, the Insider Circle, which you can find in the nav bar on the homepage of musicmarketingmanifesto.com, I do have lessons on all of these different types of campaigns in there. So feel free to check that out. But let's talk about them briefly. These are the three main ones that I use. There are many others, but driving cold traffic with conversion or click bidding. So basically, I use ads to drive cold traffic with conversion or click bidding structures. So again, we'll make more sense in a moment, but that's what I'm going to show you how to do, and that's the big one. That's how you build your list. You go after people who've never heard of you, and you drive them to a squeeze page. And I use either optimize for conversions or bidding for clicks manually to get those people over to my page. Another one that I use a lot is just simply promoting posts. I don't use that default boost a post option. There's nothing wrong with that, but I go into the ad manager and actually set up a campaign to boost my posts. That's one option. You can play with just the simple boosted post option. I tend to feel that they perform better when I set up a campaign from scratch as opposed to using the default boost a post option there that you'll see in your feed when signed in as the admin. But that is another major type of advertising, and I use it a lot. Retargeting. This is huge. This is a big one. And this is for many probably a decent starting place if you are budget conscious, if you don't necessarily want to build your list, but you do want to try to generate revenue from your existing audience. Simply putting a retargeting pixel on your site. And in fact, that's a good thing for everyone to do right now, even if you're not going to engage in retargeting, because you can start to pixel that audience. But you create an audience. You go into audiences within the ad dashboard, create a custom audience, and you can name it something like retargeting, mysite.com, and then put that pixel on your site. And then whenever you need to make your core audience aware of either a promotion or a show or a new album that you've got out, you can retarget those hardcore fans that are visiting your site. So again, we're not really going to go into that in this lesson. It is covered in the Insider Circle if that interests you. But it's another major type of advertising, and you've got all of that in your dashboard there to play with if you want to experiment. But for now, we're going to be focusing on that first option there, driving cold traffic with conversion or click bidding. So with all of that out of the way, let's head on over to my browser, and actually I'm going to walk you through the process of setting up a campaign from scratch. Okay, so I'll see you here in just a sec. Okay, so we are back. What you're looking at right now is the page that I'm going to be promoting in this example ad campaign. Now, this is for a client that I've been working with. His name is Jack Temshin. He wrote a couple of songs that the Eagles made hits out of, Peaceful Easy Feeling being a big one. And I've been doing some marketing for his label, Blue Elan Records. I'm currently their online marketing manager, or whatever title we're throwing around at the moment. But what you're looking at is actually something I'm kind of excited about. It is one of the first live examples of a website created by a new platform that I have in development at the moment called TunePipe. I'm hoping that it will be available soon. Certainly, I expect it to be available before the end of the year. Truth be told, I expected it to be available by the end of last year, but we're pretty close. As you can see, it's live. What TunePipe does is it basically takes the same template that I give you in musicmarketingmanifesto.com, or at least it takes the core principles of that template, but really kicks it into high gear. We've created many dozens of templates, of design templates built around that core structure, so that with really the click of a button, it takes about 30 seconds to build a fully published live website with squeeze pages and sales pages and everything else. You literally select the domain, click a button, and you go check out your site. It's there. You have to edit it and add some custom copy and things like that, but you are live. Comes with a very simple but functional email collection tool, and really just takes all the principles that we've been going over in this course and puts it at your disposal with the click of a button. So very excited about that. What you're looking at is our very simple, clean, dark template, and it was the first one that I've ever run any traffic to. And as you're about to see, I'm very pleased with the results. It's been doing very well for us. So a couple of sort of things just to set your mind at ease. One, I can hear all of you saying, but well, wait, I don't have that template, and you're showing me how to use this with a different template. Again, this is built around the MMM template, the same exact principles, and the MMM template is completely customizable. So you can go in and add your own background, and you can go in and add your own arrow, and you can change the fonts and do all of these things and make a template that looks more or less identical if you want to do that. The reason I don't get into design elements within MMM is because my job here is to teach something that can work and be applied to thousands of musicians in very different genres. And that simple white template that I give you works very well for that. It is not the only way to do it. Many of you would like to have some branding elements in place, and that is what TunePipe is, whenever it is available, is going to be able to grant you. But in the meantime, you do have the ability to go in and customize that template. I would throw a few words of caution out there. If you're going to do that, if you're going to customize your template, be sure you test it and test it against the plain template that I give you, because often that plain template will outperform the fancier templates. That's why, again, I give you a simple template to work with. But there are ways to successfully incorporate branding. It just needs to be done right. And again, everything in TunePipe is being tested before it's being released. So if you're going to get into customizing your template, just, again, test those elements. My advice is to create the controlled, simple white template, the default template that I give you, and get your conversion numbers at least close to where you want to be, and then experiment with customizing that template and see if you can't beat it. So use caution there, but very happy with how this template has performed for us. And again, it just happened to be a campaign I was working on at the moment, and so I thought I'd share those results with you. And another thing that I can potentially hear people grumbling about is that, hey, this guy wrote, Peaceful Easy Feeling for the Eagles. That's not fair. I haven't done that. You would absolutely be surprised how little bearing these kinds of buzzwords have on your ability to be successful. Now, that is not to say they don't contribute to the success of an artist. In this case, it made the targeting very, very easy. I'm going to go after Eagles fans because he wrote some songs for them. I know who my audience is. I have a bold claim or promise to make, and I deliver upon that with the squeeze page and made it very clean and easy. But everyone has the ability to do that. And the conversion rate that I'm seeing with this artist, as you're about to see, is very, very strong. However, I have seen those numbers many times over with artists that were completely starting from scratch. So while certainly if you have, I get this a lot with my press quotes on my own squeeze page. Hey, I don't have quotes from Elton John, so does that mean I can't be successful? Absolutely not. You can give away a whole album or one song, and it has little bearing on your success. You can use quotes from Rolling Stone magazine or comments somebody left on Facebook, and it has very little bearing on your success. What you're trying to do with each element on your squeeze page, be it the headline, the subheadline, or the quotes, or the picture, you are trying to overcome resistance. Each element is designed to overcome a very common type of human resistance to an offer like this. And you can, as long as you've got those pieces in place, you stand a good chance at overcoming that resistance. So here, Jack Tempchin is, the writer behind some of the Eagles classic hits, and he's giving away a great song. So what are we doing here? We're overcoming the fact that a new visitor to a new artist page is going to be skeptical about whether or not this artist is any good. So as long as you are doing that with your headline, then you should be just fine. If your claim to fame or your bold promise is not as significant as writing songs for the Eagles, then yeah, it may shave off a few points, but we're literally talking about a few points. There's no reason you can't get a conversion rate well over 30% as a brand new artist, and I've seen it over and over and over again. This is just a really great tool that I have at my disposal with this particular artist. So don't let any of that stuff deter you. Let's see. And, for the record, you'd still be surprised how hard it is for a new artist like this to go about making sales and attracting subscribers. If they're not implementing the strategies that I teach, they're right there with everybody else. I've worked with big artists that can't get anybody to sign up to their mailing list until they implement some of these changes. I've dealt with big artists that have sales rates that are shockingly low until they start engaging in some healthier marketing practices where they really go out and ask for that sale. So anyway, just wanted to address that because it comes up a lot. I see it on my own page where I have certain press quotes and people throw up resistance. You guys as well, you have resistance to this stuff working, and I need to overcome that. So I just wanted to say all of that. So let's go and create our ad to promote this page. So the first thing you want to do is go to your Facebook Ads Manager. You come to facebook.com/ads/manage, and you click on this button right here that says Create Ad. Now, I've gone and written out all of the elements that I'm going to need here. What you want to do here, you've got, as you can see, a ton of options. You can create all kinds of different ads. We want to focus on increased conversions on your website. Send people to your website can also work. I use this occasionally, but I tend to use this more to promote a sales page or a blog post or some kind of specific promotion. For cold traffic, when I'm trying to build up my list, I use increased conversions on your website. Now, let's pull up my notes here. I've got my URL here. I am promoting that squeeze page that I just showed you, jacktempchin.com/free-track. And, I should probably say this if I haven't already. Just a big thanks to Jack for being open enough to let me share some of these stats with you guys and here in the members area. This will be a great learning experience, and again, I just appreciate his willingness to letting me share this with you guys. So anyway, we've got the URL there. The next thing you need to do is select a conversion pixel. So I've already created it. I'm going to actually show you how to do that, and it's probably the first thing you should do. If you don't have one, Facebook will give you the option of doing it. In fact, I think I can do it by clicking that little plus button here, and we go and choose a category. You want to do leads, and let's select, let's just call this test, create pixel. Now I can add the pixel to my website. We select that, we copy that code. Now the next thing you want to do, let's open up WordPress here. I'll show you how to do this. We would come to plugins. I've already installed it. You want to look for the Facebook conversion pixel. So you come to add new, search plugins, Facebook conversion. I should have written pixel, but tracking will work. We select, hit enter, and we're looking for this one right here, Facebook conversion pixel. I've already installed it, but you would click install. Once you've done that, that's really all you need to do. If we click create new page, and we come down to the bottom, we've got this little field that will be here now. You click that to insert Facebook conversion pixel code on this page, and then paste the code that we just did. Oh, let's see if we can get it there. We copy and paste that into there. Actually, it is doing this thing that I see it do a lot, where for me it won't let me paste it. It may very well for you. So what I do, if you encounter this, is click that, view code, there we go. So again, just to clarify, you select the option that says someone else will add the pixel, then it opens up this and you copy it from there. Then let's go back to I can add it, and once we've done that, you would just publish the post. So where do you want to put that? You want to put it on your confirmation page. So this is the page that they go to after they subscribe. On this ad that I'm currently running, I have the opt-in option turned off, and disregard this, by the way. This is just a tracking plugin that I've got installed on this site. No one can see this but the admin. But this is my page that I take people to immediately after they sign up. It's effectively the confirmation page. They just don't have to confirm. And when I click edit page, you can see that I've got that same tracking code there. So now let's come back, JT subscribers. We click continue. And now we need to create our ad. So locations. Facebook will tell you, as they've told me, to create a unique ad set for each market. That would mean you're going to create an ad set for United States and Canada, and then another one for United Kingdom, and then another one, probably anybody in the EU, or at least any English-speaking country in the EU, then another one for Australia and New Zealand, which is considered a market, another one for Asia. I used to do that, and it became such a pain to manage, and other than maybe separating out the United States and Canada from the UK, I really didn't find that it boosted my audience very much. So now I kind of go, I take a lazy route, and I just group everything together, because as you're going to see, managing the ads is a bit of a chore. And I mean, it really doesn't take a lot of time, but there are a lot of things that you need to check. Namely, you need to monitor comments, because Facebook doesn't send you alerts, even though you've got the settings set right in your account. They send you a few and then they just stop. Why they do it that way, I have no idea. And you need to monitor your comments, because you're going to get spammed. There's going to be, negative comments and things like that you're going to want to remove. That's sort of part of the course with paid advertising. So because there are all those different things to manage, I just group everything together. For many of you, you may just want to go United States and Canada. Obviously, this depends greatly on where you are. If you're in the United Kingdom, then you want to go the United Kingdom. But it wouldn't probably hurt to start local, at least with just your market. I often add, again, the countries that I typically advertise to are United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand. But as an artist who potentially will be touring, it's probably going to make more sense that you stick with your market. So United States, and Canada, maybe even just the United States if you're in the U.S., and apply those principles to wherever you are. Now, age. This is a big one where everyone thinks, hey, I'm young and cool, and therefore 18-year-olds will dig my stuff. They might, but young people don't buy as much as older people do. They don't have as much disposable income. They are more engaged with piracy. And I typically find the older I go with my ads, the better I do. I personally advertise to people over 25 with Jack's campaign. He's an older guy. I went with an older demographic. I went with 35 and up. So I'll go usually 25 to 55 is probably a good benchmark for many of you, regardless of what your age is. I mean, hey, if you are a band full of 16-year-olds and you just know that your target audience is young people, then, disregard my advice. But again, you need to know your audience ultimately, and this is sort of on you. But maybe take what you think your younger range of your audience is, and add 5 years, and you'll probably do better. Again, the older, it doesn't mean that you don't have fans that are under a certain age range, but the older you go, the more disposable income, the more likely, the less jaded they are with when it comes to online purchases, and the better you typically do. So with this artist, I'm going 35 to or 35 on. 35 to 65 plus. Gender, I typically leave this alone. This is going to totally depend on you and who your target audience is, and you may want to just start with all and take a look at not necessarily just the people subscribing, but your buyers as well. Because, for example, with Music Marketing Manifesto, the huge majority of subscribers are men. However, it's about an even number of men and women who actually purchase. So it doesn't tip the scale so much that I don't want to target men, but it does make women a more valuable subscriber segment to me. And depending on how those numbers worked out for you, it may affect who you target. For most people, I'd say all is a better option. If you make death metal music or something like that, maybe you'll find that your audience is mostly made up of men. Maybe you won't. I have no idea. I don't know that audience, but take a look at those buyers, and if there's an obvious trend, you may try creating an ad just for one gender. But for the most part, I go with all. I certainly am in this instance. Languages, don't do anything here. Do not write English if you are advertising in the United States or the UK or Canada or Australia or anywhere like that. What this option is for people who are targeting people who do not speak the language typical of that country. So in other words, if you were targeting Spanish-speaking people in the United States, then you would type in Spanish. If you were targeting English-speaking people that lived in France, then you would type in English. Otherwise, leave that blank. That's important. It will actually hurt you if you type in English-speaking people in the United States, because it has to do with people's computer settings, and that information is not always available, so it'll likely shrink your audience. More demographics. You can play with this if you want. I never use it. Interest. Now, for Jack, an obvious one was the Eagles. Let's see. And here we have Eagles band. And yes, I know it's Eagles, not the Eagles, but I can't seem to shake that from my habits. Anyway, so that is all I would do. Nothing else. And you can see here we have a pretty big audience. So this is going to probably... No, it's actually probably not going to drill down any further. So the audience size was almost 3 million, but because of our age settings, we've got 2 million, and our our location settings, this has been shaved down to 2,100,000. Now, this is a really big audience, bordering on too big. What is the right range? I don't have, some etched in stone kind of number here. I like the number to be, I personally like it to be over 500,000, but under 1 million. But I'll go after anything that makes sense that's over say 30, 40,000. And sometimes I'll go after something even smaller if it's really targeted. But, if you go after something too small, that ad is going to have a fairly short lifespan, depending on your budget. And that's the primary reason why I will target a larger audience. Now, Facebook has told me, just in my conversations with them, that you want to have something like 500,000 people for every $25 in daily budget. I kind of throw that out the window. I've never really paid attention to it. I'm just passing it on because it's the same advice that they gave me. I just don't do that. I find the right audience and go after it. The size of the audience is really just an indicator of whether or not I'm too broad. And again, 2 million people is a lot, and that sometimes could be an indicator that this is too broad. However, because the guy wrote a couple of their songs, I really feel like this is the right audience, and so this is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to create some other ad sets that target additional interest, but for this ad set, all I want to do is target the Eagles. So that is it. Now, behaviors, I also don't mess with this at all. Basically, this is a way to reach people based on purchase behaviors or intents, device usage, and more. Some behavior data is available for U.S. audiences only. I don't mess with this. Feel free to do so, but I wouldn't start there. Connections, I also leave this blank. You could, if you wanted to, exclude people who like your page. I've done this in the past, but for the most part, I just don't do it. And now, budget, daily budget. I started this campaign at $20 a day, and then I boosted it to $30 a day. You may just want to start with $10 a day, whatever you're ultimately comfortable with. Understand that initially you're testing. You need to go into this knowing that you probably, you very much can and may lose money initially. So you go into it accordingly. I like $20 a day as a budget if you have a little bit of money but are a little bit budget conscious. 10 is just so small that it doesn't get you that much data. 20 is decent, but hey, if all you can afford is 10, then go for it. If all you can afford is 5, then go for it. Run my ad set continuously starting today. I typically use that. If you have a reason you might want to end the promotion at a certain time, you can schedule things. Optimize for. Now, this is a big one. You have these options. Website conversions, they'll serve your ad to people who are more likely to complete an action on your website. Clicks will serve your ad to people who might click on your ad. Daily unique reach will serve your ad to people up just once per day, as opposed to multiple times per day per person. And then impressions will serve your ad to people as many times as possible. Now, all of these options have their place, but for what you're doing, I'm going to recommend that you start with website conversions. This doesn't always get you the results that you want, and if you struggle with it, I sometimes change things up and I go for clicks, and I set a max bid that I'm willing to pay. This is absolutely an option. You can see here it gives you a range. If you do, and I'm just touching on this because for people who have problems going the way I'm going to suggest, you may want to set up a new ad and try this. But if you're doing that, I recommend you just start with the max bid suggestion, which here is 16 cents. The thing to be aware of is you're not paying for clicks to your website. You're paying for clicks on your ad. So that could be a comment. That could be somebody clicking the like button. That could be somebody clicking over to your Facebook page. It's any kind of significant engagement with that ad. So you'll see far more clicks than you actually do people to the website, and it's quite a bit higher. You have quite a the number is quite a bit larger than the actual number of people who click through to the website, and it varies, of course. So let's keep things simple. Get more clicks at the best price. Let's go back with website conversions and get the most website conversions at the best price. You don't want to start with set the amount a conversion is worth to you. They don't have enough data yet. You can come back, as I'm going to show you, and create an ad using this option once they have more data, or create a new ad set using this option. But when you're just starting out, get the most website conversions at the best price. You'll be charged for impressions. Now, one thing, and I suppose I'll talk about this more in a bit, is that when you do this, it takes Facebook 3 to 5 days before their algorithm really figures out who your target audience is. What you're doing here is saying, hey, I know I want Eagles fans, you figure everything else out. And Facebook is going to look at the people who are signing up to your list. They're going to look at those conversions, and they're going to start looking for patterns. Like, hey, all these people who converted, they also like Glenn Fry. Who knows? And therefore, let's also target people who like Glenn Fry. Hey, all these people are men. Let's also target men. Hey, all these people are of a certain age. Let's target that age group. So they're going to use their own information that we do not have access to determine what segment of your audience is most likely to respond, and they're going to serve your ads up to those people. But again, they need information. They need 30, 40, 50 subscribers before they have any data to work with. So you need to be able to stomach letting this ad run for 3 to 5 days or so before that number is really going to settle. Sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's so far out that we just know, hey, this is not working. But you'd be surprised how many times I run an ad and the first few subscribers are $8 or $9, and then it starts dramatically coming down, and by the second day I'm spending less than $1 per subscriber. So it can go really high in the beginning, and you need to be prepared for that. Now, once we're set, we want to name the ad set. What I typically do, and this is just for your organization, I just type in my target interest and leave the rest of the data, US, Canada, 35 plus. You have the option of using multiple images in one ad or a single image. I only use a single image. Honestly, I've just never even played with this one, but my feeling is that it's just that more is not better with an ad. So I would stick with a single image. Now we need to add that image, and we're going to add multiple images so that Facebook has something to split test. So we click on Select Images, delete what it picked up by default, click the plus symbol there. Let's go into my folders here. And here are the images I selected. I really didn't have much to work with. So I don't know if you can see those. Let me make them a little bit bigger. This is the main image that I had to work with. Nice image. This was the album cover. It was a horse. The album is called Room to Run. And this is Jack performing in the street. And I went and took this image. I sort of thought it was the strongest image, and I just put a circle around it, just something weird to make it stand out. It used to be that everybody put red borders around it. That still works, as far as I know, but I've been doing things that are a little more subtle, a little more tasteful, and I just put the image in a circle. You can experiment however you want. So all we need to do is select all of them and click Open. They're all going to upload. And now, again, Facebook is going to create 4 variations of my ad. And they're going to display down here whenever they finally upload. Now, we need to select the page, Eagle Songwriter, Jack Temption, headline. I've written all of this out. So I'm using Eagles fan. Question marks tend to work really well. You have only, how many characters? We have only 25 characters, so it's pretty limited. I really want those images to upload so that I can show you something else. The thing with the headline is that with a newsfeed ad, which is where you're going to see most of your traction, the headline is sort of less important than the body copy. You can see here it appears down at the bottom of the ad. It is bigger and bolder, and it does stand out a bit, but it is that main copy that people are going to see first. However, when we look at the right column ad, the headline is at the top of all the text and is much more prominent. It's much more important, and it's going to contribute much more to the click-through rate than it does in the newsfeed ad. So you kind of have to balance those two things. Understand that most of your traction is going to come from the newsfeed ad, so focus on the put mental preference, if that makes any sense, on how it's going to appear in the newsfeed, but also realize that it's going to be very important for the right column ad. So really, at the end of the day, you want to grab that person's attention. And one exercise that I use a lot when trying to write copy, because sometimes when we just sit there on our computer with a Word document and a keypad, we get a little too clever for our own goods. And what works really well for me, I don't even know if this will make sense, but I used to work in Pike's Place Market when I was 18 in Seattle. And if you've ever been there, it's just a giant permanent 7 days a week farmers market, where you got to scream at people as they pass by, or most vendors are instructed, or most vendors instruct their employees to holler out at people who pass and grab their attention, pull them in to try a sample or something like that, and sell them some produce. And I'll often just stand there, and you could do the same exercise, just imagining yourself standing at a merch table after a show, and I will literally say out loud, I'll close my eyes or whatever it takes, and imagine that somebody walking by who I need to sell a Jack Tempchin CD to, and what would I say to that person? And I'll say it out loud. I've actually gone as far as to record myself talking, and then I'll distill that into the copy that I need. So, hey, you an Eagles fan? Would be what would come out of my mind. You gotta check the CD out. This is a guy who wrote a couple of the songs. That's very natural. And that's what I lead with for a headline. So, if I thought my music sounded like, I have a song called "Where's Bob Dylan When You Need Him," and it was one of my first singles back in 2000 when that single came out. And so I might, if I was in a room full of Bob Dylan's fans, I'd say, I could say, my mind is actually flooding with ideas of things that I could say to them. But, it could be as simple as, hey, you a Bob Dylan fan? Or where's Bob Dylan when you need him, right? Or whatever it was. And I wouldn't add the right to the ad copy, but then I'd have where's Bob Dylan when you need him? Or have you heard where's Bob Dylan when you need him? Or I don't know. The list goes on and on and on, but something to grab their attention. If I was, again, using that Guns N' Roses angle, if I was doing music that was maybe a throwback to that era of raunchy, sort of sleazy rock and roll, I might say, man, you ever miss a good guitar solo or something like that? Just something that would grab that person's attention and pull them into the conversation. And then with the body copy, we elaborate a little bit more and tell them what we're talking about and present our call to action. So what do we got here? So Eagles fan. And now imagine that person turning and looking, and we say, get a free track from the writer behind Eagles hits like Peaceful, Easy Feeling, and more. So obviously I wouldn't speak to a real person in such a static, and flat manner, or robotic manner, but I might say, hey, you an Eagles fan? Hey, you should check this out. It's a CD from the guy who wrote Peaceful, Easy Feeling and a couple of the other songs by the Eagles. And then distill that into a sentence like you have here. Get a free track from the writer behind Eagles hits like Peaceful, Easy Feeling, and more. What am I doing? I'm driving home the big, I'm making this point of connection. I'm speaking to their pre-existing passions and interests because I'm mentioning Peaceful, Easy Feeling. I'm presenting them with a call to action, get a free track. And notice I don't say his name anywhere in this ad so far. Now, you have the option of show advanced options. I sometimes use it and I sometimes don't. I use it when I think I have something else to add that I think will help the click-through rate. I've had Facebook tell me not to use it, but I've also seen ads that perform better with it. So it's really kind of a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. For me, I use it when, again, I feel that I have something else to say that will help the ad. So let's look at what I've got here. Copy that and paste it in here. So Jack Tempchin, the songwriter behind the Eagles' Peaceful, Easy Feeling and other classic hits, has a brand new single, and it's yours free. So again, in this instance, I hadn't said his name, and I thought, that might add something. particularly because in another ad I plan on going after Jack Tempchin fans. He's got a big Facebook following, just didn't have much of an email list to speak of before I ran this campaign. But so I thought including his name might be helpful, and he has some notoriety, so I thought that Eagles fans might also know it. But I restate, there's obviously some redundancy here, but that's really juicy redundancy, so I included it. And I state that he's got a new single, and I used the word free. Well, I guess I used that here too, but I thought it added something, so I went with it. Let's look at how that looks in the desktop. It hasn't populated yet. I don't know why. Oh, wait. There we go. Yes, it has. Sorry. Get a free track from the writer behind Eagles hits like Peaceful Easy Feeling and more. Eagles fan, Jack Tempchin, the songwriter behind the Eagles' Peaceful Easy Feeling and other classic hits, has a brand new single, and it's yours free. So, now, buttons. Do you use a button or not? I usually do, and I usually use Learn More. It's simple, straightforward, and will hopefully encourage people to click. You could try things like download, which I've done before, but I like Learn More. It sort of says, hey, click here to get details, and it's less committed, or one needs to be less committed than they would to, say, download. So anyway, experiment if you want. Learn More is what I do, and it's what I did with this campaign. Conversion tracking pixel, if you needed to change it, you have access to it here. Now, all we do is place the order, and now we click Create Similar Ad. Now, all I want to do is come down. Where am I? Have I passed it? I'm looking for the interests. Oh, no. What we need to do first is change the ad set. So now, create a new ad set, save, come down to the Eagles and remove it, and type in this case, Jack Tempchin. You can see he's got a decent sized audience on Facebook, and about 89,000 people fit the are now in the audience, given the criteria that we've drilled down by age and location. And daily budget, I'm going to leave it at $30. I'm going to rename the ad set Jack Tempchin. And place order. And create similar ad. Same exact thing. I keep forgetting to change the ad set. Create a new ad set. Save. We delete that. We add, let's say, Jackson Brown. I know he did a show with Jackson Brown not too long ago, and it's sort of a similar demographic there. Did we rename the ad set yet? Nope. Jackson Brown. And place order. So that's what I did initially with this campaign. I created those three ad sets, and because there are 4 different types of ads with 4 different images, and 3 different ad sets. What is the math there? So 4 times 4 is 16 times 3. We got 48 different ads we just created, believe it or not. So once you're done, you click Continue. Okay, and we are here in the Jackson Brown campaign. Let's go to the campaign we just created. And you can see here that we've got 3 ad sets, and they are not currently delivering because I paused the campaign during one of the edits, because this is just sort of for example, but these were the 3 ads that I ran. Now, what you need to do is sit for, it would, I know no one's going to do it, I wouldn't do it, but it would be good advice to just not even look at your screen for another 2 days, because it's going to take some time for the price to start settling and information to start coming in. And another thing, just to warn you in advance about, is what I often see is in the morning, that price will often be high. Like let's say I wake up and I check my ads and I'm paying, it could be $2 a subscriber. And as the day goes on and as the algorithm gets smarter and it hones in even better on that target audience, the price comes down. And Facebook's got an interesting way of figuring it out by the end of the day. But when you're looking at the current day's stats, they're often intimidating, only to come back the next day and look at yesterday's stats and see that price, sometimes in the evening, sometimes in the final hours, Facebook's algorithm figures out a way to drive that price down by honing in even better on your target audience as the day goes by. So it's sort of dangerous and often terrifying and quite stressful to look at your stats while the day is still in progress. However, we're human and it's just impossible to resist. So I'm not even going to bother trying to tell you not to, but do understand that you really want to look at the day's stats after the day has passed to really come to any kind of conclusions. And for the 19th time, remember that it will take 3-4 days or so before that number usually settles. Now, if on day 2 or you're seeing just dismal results where you maybe had a $30 budget and your subscribers were costing you $7 a piece, then that is probably a sign that even though you haven't waited the 3 or 4 or 5 days, that it's just too high. But if your subscribers are coming in for, say, $2.20, that might improve given more time. So you might want to do it. Now, do not shut off your ads after 2 hours because you saw $8 per subscriber. It will take a full day's cycle for that price to settle, especially when an ad is brand new. Sometimes they're just crazy expensive, and then the algorithm kicks in once you start getting subscribers. And it's sort of like with every subscriber that comes in, Facebook gets a little smarter and your prices tend to come down. So it's not uncommon where I'll see, $11 and then $8 and then $6 and then $3. And then by the end of the day, I'm paying $1.25 or whatever the price may be. And obviously that varies a lot. So what do you want to be paying? Again, it really depends on what your customer value is, what your subscriber value is, I should say. But as a ballpark, I like to suggest that people focus on getting subscribers for around $1 or less. Now, many people can make much higher numbers work. It just really depends what else you've got coming down the pipeline. It depends on if you're a touring act, and that you can turn some of those subscribers into ticket sales. It depends on if you're open to things like house concerts. It depends on if you put out an album every year. It just depends on so much. It depends on if you've got a recurring membership site built into your model. It really depends on whether or not you've got some sort of an upsell, and all of those things are going to have a huge impact on whether or not you can afford 50 cents or $5 per subscriber. But I think $1, it's not always easy to actually do, but $1 is a good target. It's not hard for any of us to envision how one with 1,000 subscribers can generate $1,000 off of that list, especially given a promotion or two. So, but again, the end game here is to fast forward 5 years where you've got a mailing list of, say, 20 or 30 or 50,000 people, better yet, 50,000 people in one location, which, that's an option. You can engage in geo-targeted advertising where you only advertise in your town or in towns that you tend to play. But again, that's getting kind of advanced. But again, backing up, fast forward to that time 5 years from now when you've got 20, 30, 50,000 people, and then you put out an album or you run a Kickstarter campaign or you do a house concert tour, and you can imagine how much money is potentially generated when you send just even one email out to 50,000 people saying that your new album has just been released. That's when you start charting. That's when you start making a real difference on a national scale. But for now, our goal is to build our base, to see growth, and to find an audience that cares about what we're doing. Because I know everyone's different and everyone's goals are different. But for me, that was, there was a time, and I hope I haven't already said this in the course because I'm recording this so long after the fact, but there was a time in my career years ago where I thought about quitting. I was like, is this it? I've now put out 3 albums. None of them did very well. Is it over for me? Or do I keep making music? And I remember very consciously feeling that it was worth it so long as I knew that I had an audience out there who wanted my stuff. This is before I got into this kind of marketing. I didn't have a mailing list at all, to speak of. And I just wanted to know that I had an audience that had their hands raised, figuratively speaking, and they were saying that we want the music, the art that you make. And that's the first goal here, is to help you find that base, whether that's 500 people or 5,000 people, but to find that initial base, to create that tribe of people who like the kind of music you make, like what you're about, are engaged with you and your channel, because that's ultimately what you're doing here, is creating a channel, and yes, spend money with you whenever you do put out your stuff. This is how you make that 1,000 true fan model that so many talk about actually work, and it starts here. And so the first step is growth, and the ultimate goal is significant earnings, and that's going to come in time once you get the list up to a level that it can support your financial goals. So I'm going to end this video now, and then we're going to look over my shoulder and we're going to go through the campaign that I just showed you how to create. All right, I'll see you in the next video.